Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. My name is JGOD. In today's video, we're going to talk about something that's been really controversial with Sony, Xbox, Activision, and Infinity Ward, and that is the survival mode that is within Spec Ops for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. So I'm going to go ahead and explain the situation and give my perspective on it as we go ahead and take a look back at Modern Warfare 3 and how they executed the Spec Ops missions as well as Spec Ops Survival. A quick reminder, if you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit the like button and subscribe with notifications on if you're looking to find your way back to the channel for more Call of Duty content. So the big issue that's making everyone upset is exclusivity. Obviously, we've had exclusivity for a while. On last gen, Xbox had the rights to that where they would get 30-day exclusivity to the DLC map. Then once we went to next gen or current gen, Sony paid for those rights, so they were able to take over that exclusivity. And we're not sure all the specifics of the deal, but pretty much they sign on and say, hey, you know what, you're going to have exclusivity for X amount of games. So whether that's 3 games, 4 games, the entire generation, whatever the case is, they negotiate it between Activision and Sony and they come to an agreement. And I think what ended up happening was for a while there, we just stuck with that 30-day exclusivity on DLC maps, and they kind of transitioned the system a little bit because fans of the franchise were getting a little bit frustrated at having to wait for DLC. And the most likely scenario is you get representatives from Activision, representatives from Sony, they meet at the table, and Activision basically says, hey, you know what? Our fans want a 7-day exclusivity because they feel like 30 days is way too long. What do we need to give you to make that happen? And then basically Sony budged in a little bit and they said, okay, well, we want 100% exclusivity on all content for 7 days. We're going to lower that number. So to me, that's the most likely scenario of what happened with Black Ops 4. But now that we're transitioning to Modern Warfare, there's a few little things that are happening. And pretty much the number one thing that happened this year that nobody ever thought would happen is crossplay. So you can imagine the same kind of deal happening where you have Activision representatives, Sony representatives coming to the table, and Activision basically saying, hey, we need crossplay to happen, but this exclusivity deal is really getting in the way. And Sony's closely paying attention to the game and they say, hey, what do we need to give you to make crossplay happen? And then obviously Activision's got to regroup and they got to figure something out, and they think to themselves, hey, what can we give them that won't be a big deal? And they kind of think about it for a while, I would imagine. And even though I bet they really didn't want to, they come back to the table saying, hey, we'll give you the survival mode that's part of Spec Ops. It's very popular. They hype it up so that Sony feels like they're getting a real big deal. And Activision probably says, hey, we'll do the 1-week exclusivity on the survival mode. And Sony's like, no, we want to do the 1 year. We're not going to budge on it. We're going to stick to 1 year exclusivity on that mode. And then Activision probably comes back out and says, you know what, we need to make crossplay happen. We just have to give into it. We'll spend most of our time on those Spec Ops missions, but we're not going to invest a ton of time in the survival mode because Xbox really isn't going to be able to play it. PC's not really going to be able to play it. And pretty much the only people that will be able to take advantage of the mode are on PS4. So if we invest most of our time in the Spec Ops mission, make plenty of them, make plenty of maps, make it very difficult for people to get through, that's going to be plenty of content to make up for the lack of the survival mode. So obviously I don't have anything to back up these specifics because I'm not an insider or anything like that. But if I look at it from a business perspective, that looks like how it played out. And pretty much you end up with Activision between a rock and a hard place. Obviously they could have said, hey, you know what, no crossplay. We'll just keep doing what we're doing. We're going to have 7-day exclusivity on all DLC weapons, all DLC content. But whoever's in charge decided that crossplay was a necessity and that this mode isn't really all that big a deal. And for the most part, I don't really think anyone's gonna be missing that survival mode unless this was your absolute favorite mode. But most people I've talked to, they hardly ever played it. They really stuck to those Spec Ops missions, which we're gonna talk about a little bit in this video as well. I'm gonna show off a couple of the Spec Ops missions from Modern Warfare 3, kind of how they work, so you kind of have an idea of the effort that goes into those and how those are very different from each other. Versus the survival mode is just pretty much a progressive wave system, and it's a predictable wave system, meaning that pretty much wave 10 is always the exact same wave. So it can definitely become very repetitive, but obviously through that process you can learn the different waves, kind of prepare for them, make sure you have a missile available if there's helicopters or whatever the case is, so you can actually prepare ahead. It's something you can queue up with friends, try and see how far you can go. Kind of like a zombies element to it because the waves just continue on and they do not end. They just get very difficult and odds are you will get down. So there's actually a third mode that they haven't even touched on. It was a DLC type mode called Chaos. I'm not really going to cover in this video. I did want to focus on the missions. You can see all the various missions as you level up. you'll gain access to more and more missions. And as you continue through the missions, they get longer and longer for the most part, or more challenging. Some are time-based where you have to complete within a certain time frame, which you're going to see in this first example. Then there's other ones like we're going to see in the second example where you just have to complete on that specific difficulty within a total time limit. So this one right you're going to see right here is the first Spec Ops mission, and actually I haven't played this one since I played the original Modern Warfare 3 a long time ago. And right here you do make mistakes when you're kind of learning the different obstacles, and you're seeing how long and slow this particular process is the first time around. And I'm going to show you me 3-starring it probably about 4 or 5 attempts afterwards, kind of after I figured out the mechanics, memorized where all the characters are, when I should reload, when I should use a particular weapon over another, and those are the types of things that you learn and adapt from. This one's a very short one. It only takes you about 30 seconds to complete once you learn all the different mechanics. But like I mentioned, that's only one type of mission. There's the other ones where you set the difficulty, so you can set on recruit difficulty, veteran difficulty, or whatever other difficulty you want to set it on, and then you can go ahead and go through the mission in the time limit. If you complete it, you get the allotted stars based off the difficulty. So if you happen to choose recruit difficulty, the highest star you can get is a single star. So right here, you can see me running through the second time. I already know where the different guys are. I'm using the pistol instead of the actual automatic rifle, and you're going to see how the behavior changes. I'm able to hit the shots. Obviously, I missed some. They don't require you to be perfect for any of these missions, but if you are fast, you can go ahead and complete these way quicker than you did that first time. As we saw, I completed the first one in 47 seconds. I shot a civilian. This one I will do in 27 seconds. And that's the great part about these Spec Ops missions, is there's actually leaderboards for this, so you could race against other people. Even though everyone could have 3-star, it's who has the fastest 3-star. You can compete against your friends, see who does it better, who has higher accuracy. There's a lot of different variables, and this is one of the missions, more of an iconic Spec Ops missions. I think a lot of people have played this one. If you played Modern Warfare 3 Spec Ops, you remember this specific mission. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not trying to be ultra stealthy. I'm just running through on the lowest difficulty. So once I complete this, I'm only going to get 1 star. Then I can up that difficulty, and you got to be a lot slower, more accurate, more methodical. You got to memorize where the different enemies are. Their actual behaviors change as you up the difficulty. So they're going to be way more accurate. How they position themselves is way better. So it makes it that much more challenging. And you can spend a lot of time on these Spec Ops missions because you kind of have to learn and adapt. And some of them are very long. This one's only about 1.5 minutes or something like that. Not even that long. But there's plenty of other ones that are like 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes long. 8 minutes long. Could be done in co-op where somebody's in an AC-130 and you're on the ground. So when they say there's a lot of content and that the Spec Ops mission make up the vast majority of the time in Spec Ops, this is where I actually believe them. Because survival, obviously you can play survival on all the different multiplayer maps. Regardless of the map, your experience is going to be relatively the same, versus with these Spec Ops missions, literally one mission to the next are completely different. We saw the first mission that I just ran through where you kind of got to beat that time trial, and this specific one, you just got to complete it in the allotted time, which is kind of a little different concept, and they give you different objectives as time goes on. And right there you can see that I earned 1 star, even though I completed in a relatively good time. The biggest issue there was that I didn't have it on a very high difficulty. So we'll kind of see what the game brings. In my opinion, it's not a huge deal. Kind of sucks, but I prefer that we have crossplay so that the PC community doesn't die off in a few months, and that PC is able to play with PlayStation as well as Xbox. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments section. You think it's a big deal? Think it's a deal breaker? And also let me know what platform you guys are on. I do appreciate all the support. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and subscribe with notifications on so you'll be able to find your way back. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a great day.